Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how I make twisted silver rings, just using wire and some solder. So the first things you're going to need is a mandrel and ring sizers. Obviously the ring sizers are for finding the ring size, and the mandrel is for forming the ring. And the next thing you're going to need is some high temperature flux for soldering. And to actually do your soldering, you're going to need an assortment of solder, which I have from easy to hard. You're going to need a soldering block to do all your soldering on. You're also going to need a propane torch. I have one that happens to have a click starter on it. Some metal tweezers. Some silver wire, the thickness is up to you. You're also going to need a pair of calipers. A rubber or nylon hammer. A jeweler's saw for cutting the metal. Also a bench pen to actually use the saw to cut the metal with. Some pliers with teeth to actually hold the wire. And some side cutters. First you're going to want to cut your wire. Make sure you cut about 6 to 8 inches. It's okay if you have extra. After that, take the cut piece and measure it up to the wire again and cut an identical piece. Once you have the two pieces, you're going to want to anneal them to soften them. So what you're going to need to do is get your soldering block, take your torch, and slowly heat them up until they get to a kind of glowing red. But if you go too much, it'll actually turn shiny and you'll melt the wire. If you can, do this outside or by a window with a fan, because there will be a lot of smoke. Alright, make sure you have some water nearby in a container that will not melt. I use a ceramic bowl, but take your tweezers and quench everything into the water so you can actually work with it with your hands. Now I'm going to take some 500 grit sandpaper and sand the wire completely clean. Alright, now that both pieces are completely clean, take them both, line them up, and put them inside of a drill. Now make sure that they're both lined up and pretty much even. Then take your pliers with the teeth on them. The teeth will actually grab into the metal and make it so it doesn't slip. And just pull the trigger on the drill and it'll wind it all exactly how you want it, and stop at any time. You can make it tighter, looser. Just don't go too much or you'll break the wire, or it'll start bending all crazy. Once the wire is to your liking, remove it from the drill. This is how the wire should look afterwards. Everything should be nice and even, pretty much straight. Next, get your calipers and ring sizers. Figure out what size ring you're going to make and measure the inside diameter of the ring sizer. The next thing you're going to do is measure the size of the wire that you're using. Once you have both of the sizes in millimeters, take both of them and add them together, and then multiply it by 3.14. So now there's two ways you can do this. One, take all those measurements you just did and scratch it into the wire itself, and then cut the wire to that length. Either way for this, you're going to have to anneal it again because it hardened after wrapping all the wire around itself. But the second way to do it is, take it after annealed and wrap it around your mandrel about 1 to 1.5 sizes smaller than you would like, and then push it down to the right size, and it'll be the exact size you need. And again, with the annealing, make sure you heat the metal till it's a somewhat glowing red for a couple seconds, and keep on evenly moving the flame across it, or you'll melt spots. If you do just want to use the Mandrel way, make sure you use your ring sizer to find out exactly what size you're going to need to wrap it around, or make it fit to at least. Alright, so once it's wrapped around the mandrel and sized, now you need to cut it. And the best way to do that is find a curved part that matches up with another curved part of it, and either use a jeweler saw or wire clippers. Now just kind of straighten it out as much as you can and put it back on the mandrel to make sure you have it the right size. Once that's done, you're going to have to file the ends if you used wire cutters, because they'll have a sharp burr on them. Alright, once you have the ends all cleaned up and everything, try to bend it back so everything is flush and make sure everything fits together properly. And take it and put it in a pickling solution for about half an hour or so to get it all cleaned up from heating it. Once you take it out of the pickling solution, the whole thing should be of one solid white color. If it still has black spots, put it back in for a little bit longer. And this is where you're going to solder the ring together. So get your soldering area all set up and set your ring. I keep my flux inside of a old container with some water in it to make it easier to use, and make sure you have a paintbrush. Now brush the flux onto the ring where you want to connect it. I also put it all around the ring. It helps with color changing. And then take a piece of medium solder or hard solder or whatever solder you want to use, and put it right on the area where you want the two pieces joined. Now take your torch and evenly heat the entire ring. The flux will start to turn white and then turn black and then kind of just disappear. Once it does that, that means the solder is about to actually melt and flow. So make sure you evenly heat it. If you just keep it on the one spot, you will melt the ring along with the solder. Now take your tweezers and quench the ring into the water. So now if everything went right, your ring should be one piece. So double check it on the mandrel, make sure it's the right size. If it's a little too small, you can hit it with a hammer lightly and it'll stretch a little bit. But if it's way too small, this won't work at all. If you have any kind of gap, or if you don't like how the solder looks, repickle it and add a new piece of solder and resolder it again until it comes out how you want it. So here's the ring after we pickled it. Now I'm going to buff it using a 4-inch wheel and an aggressive polishing compound to get it as shiny and smooth as possible. Either way, always be careful when buffing anything, because if you get it caught wrong, it can rip out of your hands and shoot it across the room. And with my bigger one, I've shot stuff across the room and completely lost it before. So be careful with that. One other thing to note is when you're buffing something, it gets really, really hot if you keep it in the buffer. So should wear gloves if you want to do it. I obviously don't use gloves, but that's just my preference. I wanted to show the actual length of time that it takes to buff a simple ring, just so you know for reference. Make sure to check it often to make sure everything is smoothing out right and that you're not missing spots or making flat spots. And of course you're going to need something to buff the inside of the ring, so that's what this attachment is. After all the buffing, you're going to want to take the ring and your hands to a sink with warm to hot water and just normal dish soap and a toothbrush to clean out all of the compound that's been stuck inside little pieces and just to get it all clean. So after all of that, you'll end up with this. And if you don't want to go through all that, I have these on my website for sale if you would like one. Any size you want. The link will be in the description. Thank you again for watching, and please subscribe, like, leave a comment, let me know how I did, and let me know what you want to see, because I can make videos on just about anything I do. Check out these other videos of mine if you like, and other than that, I'll see you guys next time.